You are listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZW LP Conroe and 106.1 KZCC LP Conroe, and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Thanks for checking out this archived episode of the Ticket Stub. Connor here, one of the hosts of the show. I'm doing this while Dick is away. Guys, I know that y'all love the show, but I know that he is the worst part. I'm trying to find another co-host, so if any of y'all have any ideas, please let me know. But in the meantime, go ahead and subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, YouTube, all at the Ticket Stub Podcast. You can send us an email at theticketstubpodcast@gmail.com, or you can find us on Facebook at the Ticket Stub. And be sure to listen live every Thursday on irlonestar.com or FM 104.5 and 106.1 in the Conroe area. Thanks and enjoy the show. Welcome everybody to the Ticket Stub. Connor and Dick here, episode 19 of the Ticket Stub. Glad to be here, coming to you live every Thursday on 104.5 and 106.1 Lone Star Radio or irlonestar.com. Also on our podcast, like our Facebook page, Ticket Stub Podcast, our Twitter at _Ticket Stub, and always you can send us an email at theticketstubpodcast@gmail.com. Connor here, Dick, how you doing, man?
Doing well.
Doing good today. How's the week post hurricane been? Have you found yourself kind of returning to normal life?
Yeah, everything's didn't really skip a beat.
Yeah.
So
okay, is the station? I know you said y'all were kind of being used for some emergency capacity. Is it?
Yeah.
Is all that slowed down now?
Yeah, pretty much we're back to normal programming here. So you can see all the cool podcasts and stuff on irlonestar.com.
Yeah, and last week we did a little short episode 18.5. I think it ran about 30 minutes. We just checked in, did a little rewind, and just basically tried to have some sort of content for you. And so this is a full episode. We're back in the swing of things, and we are going to be rewinding some movies that we've seen over the last week. We are going to be talking about our grand ticket giveaway, and we are also going to be doing our bad movie of the month. No, we're actually we're like a week late on this.
Are we gonna do a good movie of the month next month?
Well, I try to do a good movie of the month every week, Dick, but you're a little different story. So at least for now, we're highlighting a bad movie of the month, Gods of Egypt. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on in the show. But I mean, everything going. I mean, I feel like I haven't watched a ton of movies in the last 2 weeks. It's like
you've been busy, man. You've been doing stuff with the hurricane and helping people, which is great. Now, a question I have to ask: do you think they're going to make any movies
like
based off of Harvey?
Harvey. I mean, if the past, I mean, there hasn't been a Katrina movie yet, right?
There's been a couple.
Have there?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to think of them. I don't know I don't know of them. I can't imagine this will come and go, and there won't be some story of like a firefighter who rushed into the flood or something like that. But they'll have to give it a little time to breathe, right? I mean, they're not going to do it. Like, it's going to be a while from now if it happens.
I mean, I think it just depends on what the script is. So,
well, plus it depends on if Irma comes and like totally one-ups us here. Like that'd be such a Florida thing to do, right? Not even let us have our moment. I got my Houston Strong shirt on. I don't know if you can tell it right there, but I bought that to help support the cause. So, anyways,
where'd you buy that at?
It's so Ross Bolin, who we had on the show several weeks ago, Game of Thrones podcast guy. He's got a company called Grand X Media, and I was listening to their podcast, and they were advertising for it. And I was like, you know what? Like Ross, like Houston, so I'm going to help support. So grandx.com, I think, is how you go and find out about that. But yeah, I don't know. I will say when 9/11 came, I was surprised how quickly. No, 9/11 is I feel like that's it's apples and oranges to Harvey. Both tragic and everything. But I do feel like the movies started coming pretty quick post 9/11. Like I was sitting there when the first one came out. I was like, really?
It was almost like I think it was within 2 years that it came out, something like that.
Yeah, and I think it was a little too soon. By the way, Engineer Jake back in studio.
Hi guys.
Man, it's been several weeks since we've had Jake.
There's a movie I'm losing my mind on. I'm trying to look it up. It was about, the backdrop was Katrina, and it had Nicolas Cage and 50 Cent in it, and it was a great movie. I'm trying to find it. Let me look it up.
Real. This can't be real.
No, I'm totally serious.
This sounds like one of those. What do we call our made up movie segment where we plot summary? This sounds like that. 50 Cent, Nicolas Cage.
He played a cop. There were like two cops trying to survive the area. No, it wasn't. Okay, so sorry, it wasn't. wasn't Nicolas Cage, it was Val Kilmer. Is what it was.
Okay.
Streets of Blood, 2009. That's what it was. Yeah, that movie's
Streets of Blood.
great.
And so it was set with the backdrop of Hurricane Katrina.
Yeah.
And like, was it about the hurricane, or was that just also happening while they were doing their other stuff?
That was they're doing. It was something. Here's the thing: it says police officer partner has died during Hurricane Katrina, but he later discovers that his partner may have been murdered. An investigation follows, taking the officer and his new partner into the depths of the criminal underworld, basically during Katrina. So,
so that was like Katrina was happening, but that wasn't about Katrina.
no,
Right?
but it was like the backdrop.
Okay.
like it's like just basically the whole city was chaos, and especially if you're trying to find investigation during it.
That would be difficult. This is like the sick part of me. The whole time I was like driving around trying to help people during the hurricane, I was like, if there was ever a moment to rob a bank or something like that, this would be that moment, because there's not a lot of cops hanging out with nothing to do, right? They're all so busy.
Well, I think that's the kind of the idea is like they were trying to do their normal job while trying doing this. And there's a couple good scenes, if I remember, in that movie. It was actually not a bad movie.
Did 50 Cent get like shot 8 times and then because that happened in real life? You know that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why he's called 50 Cent, but he got shot a bunch. But he's thug life, man. All right. Well, we're going to hop right in here. Enough wasting time, enough messing around. We've got some movie news. We like to start the show off every week talking about something going on in the world of movies. There was an article at Variety.com talking about the movie It, which is dropping this weekend. It's coming out right now.
Tonight.
Tonight, yeah. If you're hearing this on a Thursday, it's coming out tonight. And so it looks creepy, dude. Dick, have you seen the previews?
Yeah, I've seen the movie.
You've seen It? How have you seen It?
The TV made for movie.
Okay, but you haven't seen, yeah.
No.
I mean, there's a new one that's about to come out.
Yeah.
Okay. You probably haven't seen that one yet.
No.
Unless you have like a Chinese friend that sends you DVDs or something like that. But it's coming out.
He has to be Chinese?
Yeah, I'm offensive. I know. Whatever.
All right.
No, like in China, like when people go to visit like Asia, they're always like, oh, there's
Not only-
$2 movies that haven't even been released yet.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what I heard. Whatever. don't judge me.
We are going to talk about whitewashing later.
Yeah. Well, okay. Now you're the racist. Okay. But anyways, it's projected to make $60 million opening weekend. $60 million opening weekend, and it would be the biggest September opening of all time. Not just for horror movies, but the biggest September opening weekend of all time. It would, if it does what they think it's going to do. This is a rare company to be in. It would beat Hotel Transylvania 2, which currently, what? Yeah, Hotel Transylvania, which we thought would never get beat. Not a movie like that has come out in years since Hotel Transylvania 1. But Hotel Transylvania 2 made $48 million. September, not notably a time where they release the best movies, right? It's kind of like February. We're going to talk about a movie that was released in February here later on in the show. But usually February, because all of the good movies were released around Oscar season, towards the end of the year when people are on holiday break. And then February is when they release all the movies that suck. It's kind of September, not quite as extreme as that. But if it's a big movie, they're going to drop it in the summertime.
Yeah, the beginning of summer usually too, and September everybody's back to school. Parents aren't thinking about going to see movies and stuff like that. So
for it to potentially make $60 million would be pretty huge. Okay, so the trailer, Dick, you have not seen the new It trailer.
Yeah, I have.
You have.
I have.
Okay, what do you think?
I mean, it's kind of easy to make clowns scary, so nothing new there.
Okay, so you're thinking it's just kind of like the easy way out with It?
No, I think it is a movie that has a good lore to it. And I know Stephen King always writes really interesting characters. So it's one of those safe bets. And plus, it's a horror movie, so they're guaranteed $30 million at one point. And then, but yeah, I think it's going to be a good movie, I bet, if you like that kind of stuff.
Do you think it's like, how much is it riding the coattails of the stuff that's come before it?
You mean like that, the It TV movie?
Yeah, and then just the book. I mean, it was a book too, right? Or what was the?
It was a book.
Okay.
Originally, it was a book, and I think it's a huge book too. By the way, I think it's like 700 pages. What's funny about the TV version? It definitely had that TV version feel to it, like the special effects. I don't want to ruin anything, but like it is a heavily special effect book at certain points. But it's really about kids. But it's basically Stand By Me, the horror version.
Okay.
And but
like the worst version, the darkest timeline of Stand By Me.
no, I think to me, it's in the hands of good people in a sense. Like it's always been the start from the production. They always talked about the good director and all the actors, and they have the kid from Stranger Things. So it's gonna be good. Are you trying to get it out of me if like it's gonna be groundbreaking?
No, I don't. I mean, I have no idea. I can't. I mean, I don't figure that it will be, but
I mean, is that the biggest movie we're talking about right now?
It's the biggest movie coming. I mean, right now it is the biggest thing on the horizon.
Boring.
Is it? But okay, so the last Stephen King movie I saw was a little film called Dark Tower, and it was terrible. It came out a couple months. Stephen King's had a pretty big summer by all accounts. He's had 2 of his books turned into movies. One of them was like one of the worst things I've ever seen. The other one is hopefully going to be good. But we've talked. I feel like horror has come up several times in the last few episodes for whatever reason.
Well, I would love to talk to either a fan or an expert on horror movies, because I know in Austin, one of our other engineers, we talked about like what makes a good horror movie, because they just churn those out every month. There's at least one horror movie every month, and now they're almost like what they're doing with the Marvel and comic universe, where they're creating a universe that includes all this lore, like The Conjuring, and then the what other one? There's like 2 other series that are reoccurring now. They're just going to keep making them.
Well, the paranormals are kind of like that. Paranormal Activity, there's been like a whole bunch of them, and they're not all exactly
like
the same
Saw,
characters.
And then you had Hostel for a while, and you had Jeepers Creepers, and then but I mean like, that's just the money. That's the money making machine right there. Is you have an interesting story, and then you just keep making prequels, sequels, or alternative universes. So
they're remaking this and then they're coming out with the new Saw. Which one do you think will be a bigger attraction?
It.
You think it'll win out
it
over
has
Saw?
done really well with the production of like they're promoting it as a quality horror film, not your run of the mill. We're gonna have some jump scares. There's gonna be a girl who's looks like she came out of a dumpster and haunting people. So
well, I'll tell you that the advertising and the marketing campaign I feel like has been really strong for it, to the point where I'm feeling like I'll probably go see this one. I don't go see a lot of the horror movies that come to theaters, but this one, it feels, for some reason, they're making it feel like a big thing. They're making it feel like a really big event. Like, this is an important movie. It's written on, it's based on this book that was such a huge thing. It's this clown, which is kind of like it's kind of like a staple of horror. And I wonder how much this It story really has to do with that in the first place.
I feel like It is the one that launched the horror of a clown.
That's what I'm saying.
Because it's not about a clown. But most people tag that it's like a clown horror thing, but it's, yeah.
Okay, we got to go to break, but Dick, before we do you think it will hit $60 million opening weekend?
Opening weekend, man, that's going to be hard.
Because that's what they're calling.
I was reading an article that this has been the worst summer in the past 15 years or something like that. So people aren't going to the theater. But if you win those 2 tickets today, then you can go see it for free on the house from our friends from the Grand over there. So
yeah, and you will not be helping the movie reach $60 million, but I think it's going to, man. I don't know, call me optimistic, whatever. The summer has been bad, but that's because there's been so many flops, but the movies that have made money have still made a lot of money. So I think it has a chance to do it, but we'll see. I'm looking forward to seeing that and talking about it next show that we've got, but we're going to go to break. When we come back, we're going to rewind the movies that we have seen in the last week, and after that, we are going to have our bad movie of the month with Gods of Egypt here on the Ticket Stub.
Hispanic Chamber Connections with Dr. Carlos Sanchez, president of the Woodlands Conroe Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, featuring event announcements, member highlights, and more. Tuesdays at 1 p.m., broadcasting from the heart of Conroe, Texas on irlonestar.com and Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1.
Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show, with monthly and weekly slots available on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the station message line at 936-647-3776.
Back on the Ticket Stub, just got a text during the break from friend of the show, Warner Phelps. He said he's not taking $60 million. He's going under. He thinks there's too much football this weekend for people to get out to the theaters.
That was my other comment too. Football first weekend, NFL back. Yeah, I don't know. It might be tough.
But here's my deal. Like, 12-year-olds who are trying to mac on their girlfriend don't care about football. Okay, they want to go watch it and hopefully get a little smooch by the end of the film.
Well, high school football starts this weekend.
That's
as
a
well.
good point. That's a good
So
point.
they'll be playing, going to games,
making out under the bleachers. They don't need it. That's right. Okay, well, we're gonna rewind the movies that we've seen for the last week. Dick, you've got a couple to talk about. I've just got one, so I'm gonna let you go first. Then I'll go. Then you go. How about that?
Sure. I watched a couple movies. All have a theme of evil in it. I finally caught up and watched The Devil's Candy on Netflix. I highly suggest everyone checking it out. I think Nick did a great job. He did all the special effects. I think everything was just really well done in that movie. The acting was well done. The pacing was well done. The feel, it was pretty menacing. It was kind of
creepy, dude.
It was creepy and it was good. So I highly suggest people checking out that movie, The Devil's Candy. What was interesting when I was reading it or watching it, I was like, who made this movie? And this guy who made The Loved Ones, an Australian filmmaker. I don't know if y'all ever seen The Loved Ones, but that's another movie from 2009 that is absolutely insane. And it got really well reviewed on the independent market. But this is a good follow-up too for that movie. That was good. Another movie I saw was on Netflix. I saw Little Evil. It's on Netflix. It's produced by Netflix. Adam Scott and the lady from Lost was in it. Is it Evangeline Lilly?
Evangeline Lilly.
I got the name right. There you go.
When Lost first came, she was like my number one. She's hot.
Really? That's how you judge people by their looks?
Exclusively I judge books by their cover only, not by the content.
Yeah. And where they're from, right?
Okay, come on.
But also, this movie itself, I love movies that are written in a sense of like this is basically a comedy, dark comedy, but it's not a dark comedy. It's more of a National Lampoon's version of those typical horror films.
So it's making fun of horror.
And they do it really well. There are some elements. I think if you're a huge fan of horror movies that involve devil children, you should check it out because they have a lot of inside jokes there.
Like, do you think is it making fun of it to the point where horror fans will be like annoyed and offended by it?
Well, it's not like Scary Movie. It's nothing like Scary Movie where it's what kind of comedy would you call that? Parody. It's
parody.
I mean, to me, it's a comedy. It's a parody, but it's a serious like it's smartly written.
Yeah.
And I encourage people who like this kind of movies to watch it. The acting was really well done. Some of the things in it were a little ridiculous, but then again, I think that was just kind of the tone they were going for.
Was it interesting to watch Devil's Candy and this back? Like, did you draw any connections or did it?
No, the style of the filmmaking is completely different.
I get that, but the one's making fun of the genre, right?
Yeah.
And the other one kind of straight is the genre. But I mean, anyways, okay. I just didn't know if that would like.
No, well, Devil's Candy didn't have to do with the Devil Kid.
Okay, so
this is specifically
Devil
Devil Children,
okay.
And like that whole idea, and it's kind of funny because it's almost like they wrote a script and they combined a horror script and a normal script of a dad trying to be a stepdad, but
his child's a devil.
But the child is the devil child.
Okay, that's funny.
And then it kind of unravels there, and a lot of the co-stars are really good, and then stuff like that. Some scenes are just kind of some scenes are very entertaining.
Yeah, I was looking for a movie to watch this week, and I saw this one and almost clicked it, but didn't. I'm glad that you're talking about it. I'll definitely check it out.
Check it out
because I love Adam Scott.
Yeah,
I mean, everything I've seen him in, I've always liked. He's just one of those guys that's like a likable character, even when he's bad. Like in Step Brothers was like the first time I remember seeing him when he was the brother and he was like the biggest jerk in the world. Still, he was making me laugh and cracking me up. And then Parks and Rec, he was easy to love, that television show, and several other things as well. But anything else to say about Little Evil?
Just check it out. It's on Netflix. It's part of their whole movie setup.
Dude, they are churning them out.
The guy who did that movie, actually, I believe he did another well-known zombie movie. He did Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, which was pretty funny. And then he also did Zombieland. So the director is pretty
Zombieland,
good.
the TV show. I was tricked by
TV
that.
movie.
Yeah.
Sorry. And then, but Tucker and Dale vs. Evil is a well-known cult film.
Yeah.
If you have a chance to watch that, I'd watch that too. Actually, that's actually a really funny movie too.
See, that one always, it looked too like silly and ridiculous for me to ever watch.
It's another one of those smart movies that they know what they're doing, but they're presenting it in a fashion of like, we're taking it a little serious. So unlike Gods of Egypt.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I watched a film this week. I don't watch movies, Dick. I watch films. Okay. And I watched a film this week called
Motion pictures?
A motion picture film, a movie, a talkie that was called What Happened to Monday. This is another Netflix. You watched a Netflix original. I also watched a Netflix original. It's from this year, 2017. It is mature rating, and it is 2 hours and 3 minutes. It is directed by a guy named Tommy Wirkola. He also did a movie, Hansel and Gretel, with Jeremy Renner and
the action movie that never really kicked off over here.
Gemma, whatever her name was.
Gemma.
Is it Gemma?
I don't know.
Gemma? I don't know.
You're asking me
Yeah,
to
well,
pronounce the name?
Never mind. Whatever her name is. But that was really a pretty bad movie. Hansel and Gretel, really pretty terrible. But he also did a movie called Dead Snow. Did you ever see Dead Snow? Oh, it used to be on Netflix. If it still is, I liked Dead Snow. It's like it's a foreign film. It's I'm trying to remember what country it was from. Like, it wasn't Switzerland or whatever it was. But anyways, Nazi zombies are involved, which is always good. All right, me and my buddies in college like accidentally stumbled upon this movie and ended up totally loving it. It's kind of a comedy horror. But that's Tommy Wirkola. This, What Happened to Monday, of the two movies of his I have seen, this third one is my favorite of his, starring Noomi Rapace, who has been in, she was in the original Girl with the Dragon Tattoos. She was in the Prometheus, and she's been in Sherlock Holmes, a couple other things as well. It's got Willem Dafoe, who always creeps me out, and then it's got Glenn Close, looking like she's fresh off some plastic surgery, still trying to look young. But basically, the plot is
she's hot.
Oh gosh, yeah. If you're into that sort of thing. The IMDb plot says, in a world where families are limited to one child due to overpopulation, a set of identical septuplets must avoid being put to a long sleep by the government and dangerous infighting while investigating the disappearance of one of their own. So basically, these 7 twin daughters, all played by Noomi Rapace, which, like, props to her for playing 7 people. There was a lot of scenes where all 7 of them were together at the same time. I imagine that would have been hard. You know, like talking to a bunch of either green suit people sitting around the table, or just like talking to an empty room, trying to like act and have emotion and everything.
Or maybe she has 6 other siblings we don't know about. Did you ever think about that?
Wait a minute. Could this potentially be like a documentary of her real life, and there's 7 people all pretending to be one actress? But she plays all 7. I thought it was kind of lame. Willem Dafoe is like kind of their grandpa / like guardian or whatever. And when they're all born, he goes, there's 7. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And so that was all their names. And then the way it worked was they would each, on the day that was their name, that was the day that they got to go out into the world and live their life. But they all lived life for this one, like they were all named Karen Setman. So to the world, there was only one girl named Karen Setman. But the truth was each 7 of them had a day where they got to be that girl. And then at the end of the day, they would come home and they would tell them everything they did so that everybody would know everything that was happening for each of their lives. I'm over here going like, that sounds like the most boring thing of all time. Like every day you have to sit there for like an hour and a half while they're like, and then I went into the Quickie Mart and talked to this guy. And then so this hot guy down the road introduced himself to me. But that was the plot. And then eventually one of them, Monday, goes missing. So I know. Yeah, I know. Jake is in shock right now.
Bum, bum, bum.
And the whole movie's about what happened to Monday. So they're all trying to find what happened to Monday. I will say, this movie had more violence and gore than I was expecting. Like all of a sudden, things started to kind of heat up, and it got pretty real. There were some really cool ideas here. I think the whole idea of like overpopulation and what do you do in the world when all of a sudden there's billions and billions and billions and there's not nearly enough food to go around. Like what would we do as a country? What would we do as a world? And I just don't think it quite got to where it wanted to go. It definitely had me thinking about the idea of overpopulation. There was a lot of like, do the ends justify the means? You know, is it okay to put these children in like cryo sleep forever, or maybe for who knows how long, so that other people can live? But I don't know what you don't want anything to happen to the characters because you like them, but what should the government do? So it was interesting. Overall, my biggest complaint would be that it was slow. It was slow paced, especially at the beginning. It was a full 2 hours.
Like Mondays.
It felt like a case of the Mondays. Someone's got a case of the Mondays. It was slow paced, slow moving. The first hour was tough, but the second hour I really, I thought was pretty good and action packed, and the idea was interesting. So if you're looking for something, if you're at home looking for something to watch this weekend, you could definitely do worse than What Happened to Monday. Noomi Rapace did a good job, and it's like I said, it was interesting ideas. So, Dick, I think you had one more to talk about. We got a couple minutes.
No, those were the 2 movies I saw.
I thought you saw an anime movie.
Oh, Akira. That movie, actually, I wanted to reserve that for next week.
Oh, you're going to save that one for later?
That was a really good movie, and I encourage everybody who likes anime to watch it, or animation movies, because it's from 1988, really good. I'm trying to figure out where you could watch it. I think it's on...
How did you see it?
I watched it on YouTube.
Oh, it was just on YouTube?
It was just on YouTube, and so I watched it. But I know there's an actual real way to watch it. I just don't know. But
this is showing you can rent it for $2.99 on Amazon.
So,
or you could try to find it on YouTube.
Yeah, you can just type in Akira and you can find it on there. I'm trying to. I think it might be on Netflix.
Akira.
Yeah.
So, so you're teasing that one next week, or 2 weeks from now. This is a good chance to say we're not going to have a live show next week. We're going to play a replay. I'm going to be out of town, hopefully for the last time.
Maybe I'll just do the show.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Always a riot.
And we won't offend anybody.
I can always be a good co-host.
Yeah. You know what? Maybe the two of them will do it. I don't know. We'll see. If I don't, what would you talk about? You know, if
Akira.
Akira, that's it.
Yeah.
Just an hour of Akira. All right. Well, we'll look forward to that.
Best show ever.
Look forward to that. It's going to spin off into like sports talk, and then all of a sudden, you know, who knows where else it would go. But maybe a show next week. I guess we need to figure that out. We've been planning on not having one, but I'm always about there being new Ticket Stub content every week. So Dick will talk about Akira next time we have a show. We got to go to break.
Yeah.
When we come back from break, we're going to be talking about Gods of Egypt in our bad movie of the month. So stick around for more of that.
It's a bad movie, though. I mean, I like it.
Okay, we can argue about that here in a minute on the Ticket Stub.
Our talk shows and music shows are looking for sponsors. Want to expand your brand awareness? Reach the hyper-local audience in Montgomery County? Lone Star Community Radio sponsorships accomplish this. Want to see our stats and rates? Check out irlonestar.com/sponsor for more information. Or call in and leave us a message at 936-647-3776.
Listen in Mondays at noon to hear Conroe news from local nonprofits, businesses, upcoming events, Conroe Park events, news stories, and information that matters to you with your host, Margie Taylor of Taylorized PR. For more information about being a guest, visit irlonestar.com/Conroe Culture.
Welcome back to the Ticket Stub. Second half of the show here. We're about to roll straight into our bad movie of the month, Gods of Egypt. Now we've got a review here from it's the winning review. We had our contest for the whole month of August. Watch the movie, post a review, and the best review wins. Dick, do you have it pulled up?
I do have it pulled up. I haven't read it yet, so you're the one that chose this one. So
yeah. Okay, so you want to have a minute to read it? I'll talk about
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna spend some time. We're gonna spend this whole basically last half of the show talking about Gods of Egypt. It's a movie from 2016. Feels like a lot longer ago than that. PG-13, 2 hours and 7 minutes. It was released in February of 2016. That's part of why it feels a little longer ago than that. As we talked about a minute ago, February historically not the month where great movies are released. I think that, remember we were talking about that Jupiter Ascending Channing Tatum movie?
Mm-hmm.
That was a February release, if I do recall.
it smells like it.
Yeah, it's got the stink of February all over it. I'll read the IMDb plot summary, and then we've got our winning review that we'll read, and then Dick and I'll hop into our personal analysis. So what IMDb says is mortal hero Beck teams up with god Horus in an alliance against Set, the merciless god of darkness, who has usurped Egypt's throne, plunging the once peaceful and prosperous empire into chaos and conflict.
So this review is very similar to that. On the surface, this is a review by. Actually, let's do this at the end because this is a review.
Okay, all right.
We don't want to ruin it.
All right, we can do it at the end.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Teased all y'all. You better hang around to hear the review. So let's hop right into it. Okay, so Dick, Gods of Egypt. It's got Beck, who's the human guy. Horus is Jamie Lannister.
Well, it's a bunch of white dudes playing Egyptians, which is always a good way to start a movie.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna hop right into to this. Okay. So Dick's first comment when we talked about this pre-show was that he thought it felt very whitewashed. Explain what that means.
It's when they choose different. They have a setting and they have characters, but then they hire actors who are completely different from that spectrum. So these are the gods of Egypt, and they choose all. I guess they choose all different types of races, which is great. But to me, when you have Gerard Butler in it and he has that accent, and it's just kind of like it's kind of shoving in your face, like we don't really care. We just want Gerard Butler in this movie.
So,
sorry.
One of my movie pet peeves is that any movie that takes place in the past, the actors have British accents. And it drives me crazy. I don't know why. Like, for some reason, British is like I guess just because it's not American, so to American viewers it sounds different, and we're like, oh, well, maybe that is what they.
It also kind of depends where they film it, because this was filmed in Australia, so I know
I guess British, Australian. I guess Gerard Butler's, yeah.
And and plus the main character Horace Nicolai, the guy from Game of Thrones,
Coster-Waldau.
He's from Netherlands or something like that.
He's from something.
So
like
they
that.
really do have a diverse group, and they have the Black Panther in it.
Yeah.
And
okay, we'll get there in a little bit.
Well, what's interesting when I was talking about this movie, and the reason, I don't know, the guy who directed it is actually a bona fide director in my book. He did Dark City. He also did The Crow. So he's had a long, I mean, that's a huge early 90s, late 90s good filmmaking. Then he did iRobot, and then he did the classic Nicolas Cage movie called Knowing. So, I mean, to me, he's got some experience of making aesthetically looking movies, because I don't know if you've ever seen Dark City. It looks different. The Crow looks different, but I mean, those are good movies in my book. So when I saw this movie, I forced my girlfriend to watch it with me because I heard just how much of a failure it was, because it cost $140 million or something like that.
There's no way she liked this.
And no, she wanted to not watch it anymore. She actually refused to be in the same room as me as I watched it, which, props to her. But this movie, I loved it. I absolutely loved it because
I just don't get it. I don't get how.
I think it takes a special production company to keep me interested as the movie goes, because this movie definitely keeps going up and up and up and up. And they're like, what are they going to do next? What are they going to do next? And they keep doing it. Yeah.
You think this builds interest as the movie goes on? Like it really got more interesting as it unfolded.
It only got interesting because of the characters they introduced, because each one was getting more ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just when Jeffrey Rush, when he came onto the screen as the dad, he looked like he didn't want to be there. And it was almost like what happened was they're doing makeup, and then they go, oh shoot, we got an hour to shoot. Get him off the chair. We got to get him on set. And that's what it looked like. It looked unfinished.
He looked like he had like leprosy or something.
Yeah, it looked great.
He also had the samurai top knot kind
of
weird.
That's what I'm saying.
He had like a golden blonde, super long fishtail ponytail.
The way I would describe this movie is, imagine every person that it takes to make a quality movie. So you have all the departments. You have hair and makeup.
Busy.
Yeah, they have hair and makeup.
So they hired different people.
So what they did, though, is to save money, they hired people who are already currently working on another job. And they're like, hey, you want to do some part-time work for me on this movie? Do you mind coming over here for a week and doing this? And they did that for every department, because everyone looked lost. Like, the actors didn't look trained. They didn't look like they wanted to be there. And then it was almost like this movie was just an inconvenience to everyone involved.
Yeah, that's why I know the director has done some other stuff that you've liked, but I can't stand behind him as being a good director, because the direction of this movie was terrible. Like, the actors,
that's what I'm saying. Everyone involved didn't want to be involved.
The scenes didn't make sense together. The plot, I guess, kind of makes sense. I mean, the plot moves A, B, C, D. Like, there is a progression of what's happening. But it's like, anyways, one of the things I do want to say before we get too far into this is what you said, which is this is the movie of different accents, because every actor, I feel like, is from a different region of some sort of, like, the UK, or of Britain's empire, whether Australia or some part of it, that they once conquered. And all of their accents are a little bit different. It was just the CGI. Gosh, let's talk about the CGI for a little bit. The movie was probably 50% CGI, if I'm being generous. On the low end, it was probably 50% CGI. The movie, like you said, it cost $140 million. It must have been, 100 of that must have been CGI budget, and it wasn't enough to accomplish what they were trying to do. All these gods could transform into these little, like, dog-like people type, and they can fly.
Machine-like people.
It was almost Transformers. Yeah, they were almost like Egyptian god dog Transformers. And they all had like different attributes. Like, one of them had the eyes that gave him perfect sight and accuracy. And one had the brain. The dude from Black Panther, he had like the brain and he knew everything. And one person had the heart, and one person had, the spear and all this. So they all were kind of like, they all had different functions, I guess. But they were all CGI most of the time, and it was just bad. All of Egypt was CGI. I mean, it's like they didn't have a real setting, so they were just part of the reason why the actors may have done such a poor job is because the entire time they were acting, they were standing in a room that was just green walls, right? And so it's like, how do you get yourself in the mood of Egypt when you're literally standing in, and I don't know that, but it just had to have been because of how much everything was CGI'd all around them.
Well, to give you a good idea why it was like that, they outsource majority of the special effects to different companies. So that's why it was very inconsistent throughout the film.
I just, like, what did they think when they were making this movie, when they were on set, did they feel like it was going well? Did they feel like it was interesting? Did they feel like it was
I honestly think they all signed on to it and then they postponed it. Because this movie was made, actually, I think, a while back, and then they just didn't release it. And then they finally did because they realized they had a poop product on their hands and they didn't know when to release it, but the poop February. And then on top of that, like I said, it's like almost every person there, it was an inconvenience to them. They just had to get it done. And you can tell who had fun. Like Gerard Butler had fun. You could tell that actor, his acting was just ridiculous, and he had fun doing it.
Yeah, okay. I'm looking him up right now. Is Gerard Butler, like, what's he in that's really good? So he was like 300 was cool. I don't know that his acting necessarily was really so good. It was a lot of him like growling.
P.S. I Love You.
Okay, so
I was just about to say that one too. That's a good movie.
Is it? I have not seen it. Is it really good?
Yeah, P.S. I Love You.
It's not a good movie, dude.
It's one of my few chick flicks I like.
Okay. No, Rock and Rolla. I do remember liking Rock and Rolla, although it's been a long time since.
We're talking leading man. Like Rock and Roll was good though.
Yeah.
Oh, Olympus Has Fallen. How could we forget that?
Okay, action. It's a good action movie, but not like his acting. I'm saying, like, what has he acted in that was really good? I don't know of much. I mean,
Law Abiding Citizen.
His voice acting.
Gamer.
I did like Law Abiding Citizen, but I don't know that, again, Gamer wasn't good. Gamer was not good. Like
Timeline, he was really good in that movie.
Oh my god!
And then Lara Croft, he was phenomenal. Reign of Fire. Come on, man. You're getting out of control with him saying that he's not a good actor.
No, Gerard Butler is the king.
Dracula 2000. Remember that scene when he came out to be Dracula?
Yeah.
And he had that. Oh man, that was great.
Gerard Butler might be the king of like movies that are good for what they are as like a bad action movie. Like he's the king of good bad action movies that don't require you to actually be a good actor. Most of what he does is seriously, it's like a guttural growl that he can like yell at people. And
well, just imagine if he had an American accent.
Then he wouldn't be famous, probably. Right?
I don't think he'd be as successful as he would be today.
Yeah, if he was like 10% less good looking and had an American accent, we would have never heard of him, and he'd be working like as a personal trainer at Gold's Gym in some small town. You know,
I mean, people just really need to check out Dracula 2000 to see his. I mean, that's another movie that no one really cared. Definitely.
I will say he was giving it his all. He was giving it his all in this one. But one of the things, the gods in this, they were like 30% bigger than the humans or 40% bigger than the humans. I think that when they made this movie, they thought that was like a really, really cool idea because there were so many scenes with them standing next to a normal human just to like remind you, oh, by the way, these gods are bigger. If you didn't remember, they are bigger. And the whole time I'm thinking like, what was the expense of just doing this stupid shot where you had to shoot them at different times and like expand one to be a little like just make them the same size?
They might have done that because they were on the set together.
Maybe they weren't there at the same time.
Yeah,
that would explain some things.
And different CGI companies doing different editing.
Well, they weren't supposed to be bigger.
This
it was
is one of those
accident.
movies, though. Like seriously, for the people who love filmmaking, this is one of those important movies because you wonder really, how did this all come together and you get this product? Because it cost $140 million to do this movie. Everything about it is bad. Everything. Like the only redeeming quality is that it's bad in itself, and that's what attracts me to it. But other people, like the normal people going to the theaters, they don't want to waste their time with this. I mean, my girlfriend's a great example. She literally goes, "I'm not watching this anymore. I'm sorry," and she left. And I was like, "Well, I'm watching it. I'm finishing this movie."
I think the only reason they release these is it's like, let's recoup some of our loss. Like we spent $140 million. This is going to give our studio a bad name and everyone involved is going to be upset. But at least we can make like $30 million back and then we maybe won't get fired. You know, like maybe we can keep our jobs.
Well, it's almost like they did just to give someone a job.
Maybe so. I don't know. Stimulate, you know, maybe this was like,
again,
maybe Obama helped support this as like part of the stimulus package or something.
The bailout.
Yeah, part of the bailouts. There was one part where someone's, and I don't remember which character, I just wrote the dialogue down. We're going to push through, I think, if we can, Jake, all the way to the end here. But Horace, Jamie Lannister, Nikolai Coster-Waldau, he had lost his eyes.
What's his name?
Nikolai Coster-Waldau.
Is that how you do it? Is that how it pronounces?
Well, considering it's like spelled with all consonants, I'm taking that as a pretty good, pretty good job right there. But he lost one of his two eyes, which gave him his special powers. And someone said, where is the eye of Horus? And the guy said, up your behind with all the goats you keep there. And it's like,
Classic.
yeah, but right? Oh, we all know that hilarious joke. Up your behind with all the goats. What the, like, what? And then the genius guy. So it's the Black Panther guy. He's like this genius. And for some reason, there's like 500 of him wandering around this library, and they're all like filing books and stuff like that just to prove that he's really smart. And the music, it was like a Disney movie with the way that the music was going in the background, where it was like, how vain do you think I am? And then it was silent. It was like, beep, 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 beep. Like, okay, really vain, you know? And it's like the soundtrack was ridiculous. The dialogue, they would set these like ridiculous,
The opening scene with Gerard Butler, like him coming into the ceremony, that gives you, that kind of just tells you how stupid this movie is.
Yeah, all of his troops are marching around. But then there was one, they're looking for this Sphinx, which was supposed to like be guarding the eye of Horus or whatever. And one of them said, where's the Sphinx? Oh, there he is. You know, it's like, oh, good one, man. The punchlines. I don't know who wrote the jokes for this movie, but I hope that they do not ever have the opportunity to write jokes for another movie.
If anything, hopefully this podcast inspires those who have connections to make a documentary and basically interview every single person who touched this movie and just get their full count. I think that would be a great documentary, and I wish Netflix or somebody who just puts up stupid stuff put this up. Like, can you imagine them interviewing every single actor?
Gosh.
It was like, tell me your experience with Gods of Egypt.
I could hear a 30-minute interview with Jeffrey Rush, because like he, by all accounts, is like a critically acclaimed. Like he is. Like he's been in good stuff. No, he's also. I mean, he's been in some kind of weirder, maybe not quite as good, but he's been in very good movies.
I think he's an Academy Award winner. So.
I think was it King's Speech? Was that the one that they won Best Picture or Best Supporting?
Basically, he's a good actor.
He's a good actor. He was terrible in this movie. He didn't want to be there. His role was ridiculous. Like, what would he have to say? Someone who's been a part of really good productions, who knows what it should feel like for a movie to be really good. What would Jeffrey Rush have to say? I will say he was the god Ra. He was the sun god. It was ridiculous.
Well, he probably only worked 5 days and then he's done.
Yeah, hopefully
he got
less.
paid $1 million.
But I do. The one cool thing, or one of the few things I liked about this, was that he was floating in this ship kind of above the world.
Yeah.
That was kind of interesting. I wanted to know more about the little ship he was on. Like at some point,
shooting the giant monsters.
He was like turning this little like hand crank thing that I think did something with the sun. I don't know. It was pretty.
Like I told you, the movie had good. I mean, it was getting better and better and better and better as it went. I mean, the ending scene when he combined, like when Gerard Butler combines all the gods' body parts
into like super god.
Yeah, and he becomes like the super god. I mean,
yeah, he like absorbs all of their skills.
Yeah.
Okay, so I told you this before, Dick. One of the things I don't like in movies like this, early on, two characters, like the good and the bad guy, will battle, and the bad guy will win.
In this case, this was at the opening scene with the ceremony.
The very opening scene. Gerard Butler and Jamie Lannister, Nikolai, whatever his name is, they fight each other, and Gerard Butler wins. Gerard Butler wins pretty handily. Like he beats him.
Oh yeah,
very easily.
He mocks him the whole time. It's classic Gerard Butler with his accent. You know, basically standing side to side, going, "Oh, you can't touch me."
Yeah, he easily wins. And then throughout the course of the movie, he goes around and absorbs the power of like every other god in the world. So he gets all of their powers are now consolidated under him as a superpower. What Jamie Lannister does is he loses one of his two eyes, which is like the source of his power. And then at the end of the movie, when they fight again in the ultimate battle scene, spoiler alert, but don't waste your time with this one unless you just want to like watch a ridiculous movie. At the end when they fight, somehow, even though one has lost power and one has gained power like tenfold, they're able to, I guess because of what love does for you and how that inspires you to fight better, Jamie Lannister is able to beat Gerard Butler in the final scenes. Like, not really that hard. You know, like he pretty much does it in, I don't know, 1 minute of fighting on screen or whatever it is. How does that happen? It's because at one point he looks at Beck, he looks at the human, and he's like, I've realized that my job isn't to find revenge. My job is to protect humanity. And so somehow that realization, I guess, is better than like absorbing all the powers of all the gods in the world. I don't know. I mean, it seems pretty plausible. What do you think?
I think it's sound.
It's very
sound. I think
one thing this movie is sound logically.
Oh yeah,
sound logically. The moral of the story at the end, when they like, You know, they're like, okay, we have to wrap this up and have some sort of a moral justification for spending all this money on this stupid plot.
If you keep trying, you'll get the girl and get laid at the end. That's basically what the moral of the story is.
Well, what Jamie Lannister says is the moral of the story is it's not about how much gold you have at the end of your life that helps you get to the afterlife. It's the good that you do. So he goes on, at least Jamie Lannister has a character journey.
Well, I mean, the other side character, Beck, the human, the whole reason he's doing this is because he likes a girl.
No, because he's in love, Dick. It's not likes a girl. Don't downplay what he has with her.
That's true.
Yeah, I know, right? It's true love is the source of all.
You think after all the things he went through, surviving, he'd move on. And he'd be like, I can do bigger and better things than you.
Now that he's like, yeah, that would be a good end. If at the very, because he became like.
I mean, he went to Underworld.
Yeah,
for
he
her.
did.
Like, he went to the Underworld and took her from Hades.
He did. Yeah,
So
he saved her. But what would be a great ending is if at the end, because he becomes like assistant to the king now, like Jamie Lannister becomes king of Egypt. And so he becomes his like number one advisor. What would be great is if he's like, to the girl that he's like spent the whole movie saving, he's like, actually, you
and I were here, and now I got bumped up here.
Yeah, now that he's famous and there's like better looking.
I can date a god.
Yeah, so he just leaves her behind at the end. He's like, you know what? We had a good run. It really was great.
I mean,
hey, I brought you back to life.
Ice's daughter is available. And I really want to get in the immortality area, and that's how I do it.
I'm trying to move up to the next level here, and you're kind of holding me back. It's not me, it's you. Kind of a
classic complex in these kind of movies. I mean, it's great storytelling.
See, they're afraid to tackle the hard issues in Gods of Egypt. They're just, anyways, I don't know. This was a movie. It went very much like, well, here's the problem, here's the steps, here's the solution.
We got to read Wes's review.
Yeah.
So let's get that on the air for you guys because this is pretty good. So this is Wes. I'm not gonna say his last name because we can't do that on the radio. Just kidding. But he won the ticket, the 2 tickets to the Grand Theater. So congratulations. Here's his review of Gods of Egypt, also known as King of Egypt in Egypt. On the surface,
is it? Hold on. Is it also known as King of Egypt?
That's
in
what
Egypt?
it's called. That's what it's called in Egypt. Like the
the Egyptian version is called King of Egypt. Oh, okay.
On the surface of Gods of Egypt, you think that you are watching a movie about Horus, the Egyptian god of the air, and he played by Nikolai. See, that's the problem. I can't pronounce that name, but played by Jamie Lannister, and Set, the Egyptian god of darkness, Gerard Butler, battling for dominion. All of you read it. I can't read this.
Earlier, Dick's like, "You want me to read it?" And I was like, "Okay." That was okay. Here we go. All right, so. Battling Set, the Egyptian god of darkness. Oh, are you leaving now? Is that it? No, Dick's gone. All right, battling Set, the Egyptian god of darkness, Gerard Butler, for dominion over all of Egypt. When viewed through this lens, you see a poorly acted movie with bad special effects and a plot that makes no sense. But I believe that you are missing the true message of this movie. This movie is actually a clever metaphor for an epic love triangle. Horus is a metaphor for Nikolai Coster-Waldau, Jamie Lannister, and Set is a metaphor for Gerard Butler, and Egypt is a metaphor for Lena Headey. We're taking a side turn here. When viewed through this lens, you can really appreciate the true depth of this modern, ancient epic. Imagine a world where Jamie Lannister battles King Leonidas for the affections of Cersei Lannister / Queen Gorgo. Was that really her name? How did I miss this? In 300, I guess her name was Queen Gorgo? 2 of the greatest warriors in all of totally real history, battling for the most beautiful woman, at least according to the stories, in all of, again, it's totally real history. It's a beautiful piece of cinematography using Egyptian mythology to demonstrate the incredible stakes of this love story. Wow, Wes, we laughed, we cried.
He is right about the love story angle. A lot of people say this is one of those classic love stories.
You know what? I think it's like in the top 3. There's like Casablanca, and then there's probably Gods of Egypt.
So,
close second.
I'm going to have to tell my girlfriend I was trying to be romantic by watching the movie with you if you're listening. And you just didn't care.
Tell her that she doesn't believe in true love.
Yeah,
because if you believe in love, Gods of Egypt is the movie for you. Well, if you haven't seen it, if you've heard all this and you still decide to go watch it, at any point you could post on our Facebook page something you've got to say.
I'm gonna watch it. You 2 are the only ones that can make a very terrible movie sound somewhat appealing and entertaining.
I'm just gonna ask you to stick with it, and those who want to watch it, stick with it, because really the movie is that ridiculous, and it keeps getting more ridiculous. And that, yeah, especially towards the end when they have the tower. Is it called the Tower of Icarus or something like that?
I don't know, but they said it was 2,000 kilometers tall.
Yeah, it was.
No, it's not. It's not 2,000 kilometers tall because you couldn't. Anyways, whatever.
Yeah, it was one of those.
That
things.
would be in outer space. Yeah.
Well, I think that was the point. He's building it to go to outer space.
Yeah, but it's ancient Egypt. How are they building a 2,000 kilometer tall
We're
tower?
talking about gods that can transform into robotic animals.
Yeah, but can we at least live in the world of reality?
Anything is possible. Okay.
I can believe in transformer robot gods of Egypt, but don't tell me you built that tower 2,000 kilometers tall, because I say nay.
Hey, pyramids.
Oh, the aliens built those, though. We all know that.
I want to believe.
Yeah, truth is out there. Okay, so for next week, what we're going to start doing is we're going to start just teasing the grand ticket giveaway here on the show and posting it via Facebook.
Mainly because Connor can never be here on a consistent time.
That's not the main reason.
So
the main reason is because we want you guys to look at our Facebook and Twitter accounts. So be checking out. By the time you hear this, it will be posted.
The X-rated stuff.
Yeah, because we can't say that on the air. No, be checking our Facebook and Twitter for the ways to win tickets for next week. And we will have, or for the next time we have a show, whether it's next week or 2 weeks from now, and we'll have more tickets to give away to the grand. Looking ahead to next week, at least in 2 weeks when I'm back, we're going to play another round of our favorite game, Actors List. I'm excited about that. It's been a few weeks, it's been a month or two since we've done that. Always a good time. We're having more ticket giveaways. I'm going to try to watch it in the next 2 weeks. I'm going to go see that in theaters. Also, there's a new Nicolas Cage movie coming out, Dick. Is your Cage? It's called Vengeance, a love story. And so I'm pretty excited about it. Actually, I watched the trailer a minute ago. It actually kind of looks okay. It's kind of like Taken. Anyways, he's fighting a bunch of people because of what happens to a girl. So, it definitely doesn't look terrible, but it doesn't probably look super good. So I'll go see that, Dick. I'm sure it's in theater, so I'm sure that you won't get to see Vengeance until like 3 years from now. But do you have anything you're going to try to see between now and next week?
Well, I know next week we're going to have a show, and Akira is available on Hulu, and it's free on Hulu if you have Hulu, and it's the dub version, or you can watch, the cool undubbed version. And other than that, movies I really want to see. I know I have a lot of stuff on, streaming services and stuff outside of what I watched already, besides Akira, because that's going to be my rewind movie. I'm taking movie suggestions.
Okay.
One movie that came out a while back called Stakeland. I think it was like 2009 or something like that. It was a really cool zombie movie. They made a sequel to it now, 2015. So I might check that sequel out. And then,
let's do this from now on. If you have movie suggestions, hit us up on our Twitter at @the_ticket stub. If you tweet us a movie, we will vow to watch it. How about that? If you tweet us a movie, and if you have a special, like if you want Dick to watch a movie, let him know this for him. If you want me to, or if you just want both of us to, or one of us to, just throw it on our Twitter at @the_ticket stub. You put a movie on there, we'll say who it was that recommended it, and we'll let you know what we think about it, and we can continue the conversation that way. But we got to go.
Yeah, the Ticket Stub Gmail, ticketstubpodcast@gmail.com for emails. We got Facebook. If you're listening to the live version of this, please look at our Facebook for the question to win the tickets to the Grand Theater here in Conroe. Please check out that theater. It's a great theater to go to. I liked it. So
the one time you went, you really had a good time
hey,
with it.
It got me out of the house.
Yeah.
So.
And hey, be sure you're telling friends about us here. I heard a buddy in Nashville who's told some of his Nashville buddies. So we're worldwide basically now. So if you have a buddy that loves movies, if you have a friend that likes to talk about movies, or if you have a little group and y'all get together and talk about movies, let them know about the show and engage us on social media.
If you're Chinese, we like you. So.
Especially if you're Chinese, we like you. Yeah, if you've seen all the movies ahead of time because you live in China and they all cost $2, listen to the show too. Like our podcast, our YouTube channel, you can watch us, see our pretty faces there on YouTube. And anyways, there's a million ways you can engage us here on the Ticket Stub. So I think that's all we got, Dick.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
Shall we begin?
Woo! Connor,
all right.
So just remind people next week, Connor's not going to be here, so we're going to have a lot more fun. So stick around for that. And then he'll be returning the week after, I hope.
Yeah, I will. I promise.
I'm looking forward
Pinky
to it,
swear.
man.
All right. This is Connor and Dick signing off for the Ticket Stub. Thanks for listening to the Ticket Stub. Be sure to check us out on Facebook at the Ticket Stub Podcast, our YouTube channel, the Ticket Stub, or send us listener email to the ticketstubpodcast@gmail.com. We also have all of our podcasts available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. If you're in the Conroe area, be sure to tune in live every Thursday at 104.5 and 106.1 FM to hear it as it happens and interact live with the show. See you next time.
Thanks for checking out this podcast of Lone Star Community Radio, Montgomery County's community radio station. If you enjoyed this recording, make sure to check out our past shows online at irlonestar.com or their respective video or podcast formats on YouTube, Google Play, or iTunes. If you have any questions regarding the show, either it being about sponsorships or questions for the host, contact the station manager at dick@irlonestar.com or call the station at 936-647-3776. This show is recorded in downtown Conroe, Texas at the Lone Star Community Radio Studios, and Lone Star Community Radio reserves all rights to this recording and images.